Today's adventure begins at this closed down store. It's in the shape of a boat right here off of I-4, heading from Celebration to Tampa, St. Pete, Florida, right off the interstate. As the recording of this, February 27th, a Sunday, and I am heading to a concert this evening in St. Pete, Florida. Very unusual that this is right here off the side of the road. And welcome everyone. Adam the Woo here. Hot Water Music is a band from Gainesville, Florida. From Richmond, Virginia, if I remember correctly, Avail. Both of them I have seen at least 20 to 30 times back in the 90s around Florida when they would tour together. And something I thought would never happen. The band Avail has gotten back together and are doing a reunion of sorts, even though they've done one or two. I never in my lifetime thought I would see them again on stage. And they are back in one of my favorite punk bands at Jannus Landing. I think it's called Jannus Live now in St. Pete. I'll be going there this evening, and I'm heading over a little bit early. And I'm just gonna kind of dive into some history of some of the shows I used to go to in Ybor City, Tampa, and St. Pete prior. Also, this piping hot caffeinated beverage, it's kind of lukewarm now because I got it leaving Celebration. I've already been driving an hour. Long-winded intro, I'm inviting you to join me. Shall you? Okay, getting back on the interstate, passing by Dinosaur World, a staple here off of I-4. Heading to Ybor City. Now this episode will have a lot of personal nostalgia to it. For example, Macintosh Road here. My old car I had overheated on the way to an Offspring Vandal show in the mid-90s at the fairgrounds. Stuff like that I'll be kind of peppering in. Going into the historic district of Ybor, check out these old trolleys right here. Ybor City has these neat retro trolleys. Pretty cool. Now this whole area went through a revitalization in the late 90s. Back in 1996, where this Buffalo Wild Wings was a music store called the Blue Chair, where I went to a couple of shows at the Blue Chair. And it appears as if it's the same building, they just put the Buffalo Wild Wings inside it. I'm gonna walk over there and look. And the groups I saw, one lineup was Texas is the Reason and Game Face. Game Face, really love Game Face a lot. And Texas is the Reason, really good band too, Revelation Records. Also Doc Hopper and Dead Guy were in here, which is kind of a mixed lineup because one of them was a very heavy, very heavy metal type of band, and the other one was pop punk. And I found this photo online of a band loading their equipment in, and you can see off in the distance the buildings are still the same, as well as the little patterns on the concrete. And if memory serves me correct, obviously this was 1996. It was this one over here that you would load in, and the stage was up against that side wall through this very door, right over there. And I do know not everyone is going to know these bands or these places, but for anyone that does, maybe they would enjoy seeing this. And I'm kind of stepping back into the time in my life that a little bit different than it was a long time ago. And I obviously know there were other venues I probably will not be showing, other shows I did not go to. These are just memories that I had. Used to work at Publix during that time frame of my life. I would go to concerts way out here, drive all the way back to St. Cloud, quite a hike. I worked on the overnight stock crew. Sometimes I go into work at 4 a.m. I would get back into St. Cloud at 3 a.m., take a little cat nap in my car, and then go into work. Back in those days, I didn't need sleep. A lot has changed since then. Now I need a good 6-7 hours night of sleep. Back then, I was running off about a half hour to an hour. Ought to be young again. And a lot of flyers and even video footage in there can be found online. Gotta love the fact that some of that exists, like this band, the Parasites, and then also Discount, which I saw, probably 50 times through Florida, usually in Melbourne or Orlando, but they also played at the Blue Chair. The singer of Discount, Allison, went on to be in Dead Weather with Jack White. Fun fact. Also looking at a still from a video from a great pop punk band around here called The Crumbs, which I used to really like. I'm noticing that window. See if I can match that window up to current day as I drive back by. All right, behind that lamp post is that window. So it means the stage would have been on the other side of this wall. So you got the entrance probably over there. It's been a few years, so that window matches up. Oh, take a look at this. Mario. Located here at this building at 14609 North Nebraska here in Tampa, just on the outskirts of Tampa, was the Stone Lounge. Looks considerably different than I remember it back from those days. I went to quite a few shows, one including Total Chaos. Saw them, drove over from St. Cloud or Kissimmee, wherever I was living at the time. Saw them here, Epitaph Records. That band was on that label. Also saw the Queers here. But there was an interesting story about there from Lookout Records. That record label has disbanded. The band's still around. However, that show I was not able to get inside of because it was sold out. I could not get in there, and the door guy would not let me in. And after pleading, just say, look, I drove like 2 hours over here. Can I just go in and buy a t-shirt? It was a firm no. And kind of looking at it from this perspective, I cannot recall where the stage was. Possibly this could have been the load-in doors for the band equipment, but it stretched this entire area. It was a pretty big venue, and so many musical artists played here. A lot of bands played here over the years. This was a pretty popular place, the Stone Lounge. Looks totally different, at least the exterior does. Almost unrecognizable, not because of any other reason than just a time factor, you know. As I've gotten older, your memory starts to slip away a little bit, especially something that's a couple decades or more older. That's probably the big thing. Plus, you know, the facade has changed just a little bit. There's a big truck parked in front of here. No touring groups, musicians have played in there for quite a while. Didn't go to this one, but imagine seeing Smash Mouth. If you listen to early Smash Mouth, it was a lot more rockin' than the hits they had a little bit later on. Of course, Sick of It All, Orange 9, and look who the opening act was. Korn. You know, Korn is very popular now. They would probably headline this show if this was modern day. I saw Orange 9 at the first Warped Tour, also that was 95 over at the fairgrounds. And of course, Synthfield, the singer of Synthfield, has since passed on. Great band. Saw them a couple times, but I didn't see them at this venue, but I did see them while they were still around. Oh, and this is good too. I found all these online. Glad someone posted them. Snapcase, great Revelation band if I recall, and Culture, which was a hardcore band from Central Florida. I remember seeing them as well, but they played here at Stone Lounge, but I saw them at other venues. Used to go to a lot of shows. I also want to mention the building stretches all the way down to this side. The entrance could have been here on this end. Could have been down there where I was standing on that end, but it also could have been on this end. It's like I said, it's been a few years. I've slept since then. Forget things. Made it now over to North 30th Street. This was the home of the Pegasus Lounge, fast forwarding a little bit to 2003 when I started playing music in a band. Right in here was the Pegasus Lounge. Now there's a food and deli store in the same spot. And just off on the way over there are the roller coasters from Busch Gardens in Tampa. And I'm mistaken, the Pegasus was not where that food store is now, the convenience store at the end. The Pegasus was right here at 10008 is the address. It's now called the New Lounge. But when I started playing music, 2003, I was in a band called 10 New Toes, became a New Threat, before I went on to join other bands. And kind of a lot of the local shows that we would play would be in St. Cloud and Orlando, but we'd also developed a little bit of a following over here in Tampa, thanks to a band by the name of Elysium, who would always kind of hook us up with a lot of shows. So 1008, not to be confused with the Pegasus. There's like a liquor store that's a few miles from here. I put that address in, and it's definitely not this. This is the Pegasus Lounge that I played probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 shows here. Had a pretty good, decent following. I say decent, there'd be like 50, 100 people would show up to see us, which I consider pretty good for like a local band. Sign, it was here at Poinsettia Plaza. Now I never went to any concerts here, I only played them myself inside there. But this is it, now called the New Lounge, Tampa's hottest bar and lounge according to the sign. I think this here, even though it was, the technical address was 08, I think this was the load-in door, and the stage No, this was, okay, yeah, here's the stage right here, look. You still see the stage down there. So the stage would have been here. You can even see me in the window waving. So the stage would have been right behind here, facing that way. So that would have been the load-in door, and that would have been the door, you know, that you pay the person at the door who was taking the money. Funny thing too, I do recall me and the drummer of that band at the time, John, we were both very thin, thinner than I am now, and we would squeeze through these bars and say, look, we can squeeze through these bars. There's no way I'd be able to squeeze through this now. I would get stuck in here. That is so funny, even thinking about that, from 2003. This is only like, I don't know, I was really thin then. Notice the faded out lettering there, starting with the P there for Pegasus. Would have had the Pegasus mascot here on this little silhouette outed section, and then lounge down here. As stated, never went to any shows, never went to any concerts where I went and saw anyone perform other than the other bands that would either play after us or before us. But I did take the stage here a lot of times at the Pegasus Lounge. Now a totally different venue. And these bars are still here. And I can also still recall just going out sometimes, you know, in between bands and looking over at Busch Gardens and saying, oh, it'd be pretty cool one day to go over and ride some coasters, you know, before a show. We never did it though, because it was such a long drive, long hike over here. Getting here early, loading in, playing the show by the time we would get home would be, you know, 3 or 4 a.m. back over to the Orlando area. Oh, I am also incorrect on this. It is like there, Pegasus Bar and Lounge sign still there. That's pretty cool. And you can hear the streaming over at Busch Gardens and the coasters off in the distance. That is cool. Sign still there, at least here by the road. Ah, yes. Good memories of the past here in Tampa. I've forgotten all about this place, honestly, until I was heading over, going to the show I'm going to tonight. Came up with the idea, just kind of show a little history of, I've done band stuff in Orlando, and I've showed some of the venues around there that I saw concerts at and, you know, played shows at, but never in the Tampa area, so I'm kind of glad I thought of that. This was cool to see this. But I should get moving on though, because yeah, you gotta notice this here. Don't want to stick around here too long. I don't know how bad they enforce that. I've only been here for a few minutes, but maybe, I don't know, would that be loitering? Oh, take a look at that over across the street. It's a Doc Brown painting mural. Nice. Ah, the downtown Tampa skyline. I'm gonna pass by that though and go over to St. Pete. And before going over the St. Pete Bridge from Tampa, stopping off at this mall, they ended up having some Tampa Bay Rays merchandise. Got Kiermaier here and a Rosarina. I mean, I already have a few Rays shirts, but there's not really a good selection over by where I'm at in Central Florida. So whenever I get over here to the Tampa side, I always try to load up. Just wish the baseball season would hurry up and start and this lockout would end. That would be nice. Classic car alert approaching. And a couple more up here. Going over the bridge. 3 classic cars in a row. Now I got off of the freeway onto MLK in the corner of 3rd Ave North. There's a Beatles All You Need Is Love mural over there. Now this I could not find any info as far as a quick search. I might have to research it a little bit later, more thoroughly. But just using, you know, the thought process or muscle memory, if you want to call it, of back in the day when I would go to shows right over through here, this rings a serious bell through here. In fact, I believe that this was the spot. Could have been this church, could have been this artisan spot, or this food store on the end. Somewhere in here, one of these roll-up doors was a venue. Like I said, I did a quick search, could not figure out what it was, but I saw AFI here with, I believe, Ensign? E-N-S-I-G-N. And also another time I saw Ignite here, and another time I saw Straight Faced. Now it could have been at the next one, Southern California Straight Faced. They were on, I think they were on Victory Records for a while, Epitaph. They were on Epitaph. Anyway, so over there, it could have been over there, but I am gonna say 99% sure it was one of these roll-up doors, was a venue. I think it was even a ska fest at one time in here, because I recall talking to Davey Havoc from AFI at one particular time, as well as Johnny from Straight Face. And I can remember this in the background with their tour van right here on both occasions, talking to both those guys. And that was before AFI got really, really popular, obviously. In fact, the first tour AFI ever did was down the road, opening for a band called Guttermouth, which I ended up joining that band about a decade ago, probably a little more than a decade ago. I was in that band for 2 or 3 years, did a bunch of tours. But before that, this is back in the 90s, the first tour they ever did, they took AFI out with them. And that was at the State Theater, so I'm gonna go over there and find that. But I wish there was a local around that would know, was this used to be a venue right here now called Art's Food Store, or possibly this one, but this area looks very familiar. It's ringing a serious bell right through here. No idea what the name of the venue was, what the name of the club was, how long it survived, but I did go to at least 3, maybe 4 shows right here on this corner. And I'm not ruling out, it could have been one of these buildings. Could have been one of those over there as well. But leaning towards that, just based on, based on that over there. Just, it's weird how your mind works. And you could just go back to a time, even though it's a couple 3 decades ago, give or take. It's all coming back to me now. My roommate Rob that I had at the time, we were roommates for a long time. We would always, go and support bands in the scene, travel all over. Bands would play here. Like I said, AFI one time, Ignite another time, and then Straight Face another time. We would always drive his car. He would take my car, which usually overheated. His car ran a little bit better than mine, but did not have a radio. So he had kind of a boom box in the back with a CD player that ran off batteries. So almost every other day, we had to buy the big batteries, and you have to lean behind a seat to play the CDs. There it is, the Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Bay Rays. Some cars in the parking lot. Actually, quite a few cars in the parking lot. Something else must be going on. It's not baseball, though. Baseball is delayed due to the lockout. The building across the way there is now called the Floridian, but I remember it as the State Theater here in St. Pete, a source of a venue for many, many shows that I went to over the years. I'm gonna go ahead and go around the back. In fact, if I was to try to list all the different bands that I saw there since the 90s and on, I would have a tough time even being able to do that. Just a lot. Not all on the same bill, but at different times. No Use for a Name, I saw in there. Face to Face, I saw it another time. Casualties at another time. Guttermouth played here a few times. AFI played inside of here. In fact, that was the first tour, as I was mentioning back at the other place. I'm having a hard time riding the scooter across this. When No Use for a Name played here, one of the guys that I was friends with a lot of bands, so we got backstage, and in the upper room up there above the stage looking down is a little tiny room up in the tippy top of the former State Theater, and I got sickness, I got food poisoning from a local restaurant, and I was not feeling very well. And someone in one of the bands, there was 3 or 4 bands on that bill, either them or their roadie or their merch guy or someone thought it would be funny to lock me in the bathroom in the room up there. Wasn't a very nice thing to do. I was very ill, not feeling well, so I don't have the best thought. How's it going? There is a rather large shark over here on the side of the former State Theater. Does it look like the shark is about to take a bite out of me? I think it does. Guess I could probably get a little closer to it, right? Usually over here. Beware of sharks. And able to walk inside the State Theater as well from the front. They did let me go in and just kind of stand here and get a little view of the stage. I wanted to point out that upstairs area I was referring to, where I got locked in the bathroom when I was very sick to my stomach, up there in that corner up there where I'm pointing. And they've really fixed this place up nicely. It's very, very nice with the floor, all with the checkerboard design and all that. And up top, they still have the balcony up here that was always here. The balcony is still up there. And there's my shadow, and rolling through St. Pete, going over to Jannus. Right here off the side of the street area, you can see this from the road itself. Kind of looking up, you see the flyer for the evening. well, it's like a poster size flyer, if you will. It has the bands and 6:30 start time. And also, if you kind of look back in there, there's some people in there loading in the equipment, the roadies and whatnot, getting it all set up. Now this staircase, back in the mid-90s, NoFX came through with Bouncing Souls on tour and another band. It was the Heavy Petting Zoo tour. And the merch guy for NoFX had me help out by giving away Survival of the Fattest CDs from this stairwell. I stood up on the stairwell and kind of threw out CDs to everyone that was leaving from the show. Never seen nothing like that before, double-decker bike. And here's the flyer from Jannus from back in the day, SNFU. Yeah, I saw them a long time ago. The singer just passed recently. Great band. Another one at Jannus. I like these old-timey looking flyers. There's something very nostalgic about them. Used to be a couple venues here on the 600 block of Central as well. One was called Foo Bar and one was called the Local 662. Both of them are gone now. It is interesting how some shows and concerts nowadays, certain artists do not want you filming. That's probably not the bands that are playing. That might be a Jannus landing thing. If I'm able to take my cell phone, I'm not gonna take the camera in, but if I take the cell phone in, I will insert footage now of the band playing, both bands that are playing. First would be, there's an opening act and then a Veil from Richmond, Virginia. If it works out, I will have footage of that over me talking over this. There's just like a little short snippet, a short clip of that. And then from Florida, Gainesville, hot water music.
Here, I cannot remember the last time a Veil played in Florida. Still, I mean, really, y'all, the amount of gratitude that we all feel, Be Well, hot water music, and a Veil feels is unprecedented. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, show's over. Made it back to my car. I was singing a lot. I knew every song from a Veil, which was great. I knew all the songs that they were singing pretty well. I think I've been listening to them for many years, over a couple decades. So I think I have their repertoire down pat pretty good. Didn't really jump in the pit too much. Kind of got up front with everyone singing along and whatnot. Towards the end, there was a pretty good little slam dancing circle pit going on. I almost jumped in there. I was like right on the edge, singing along, kind of screaming, but I also had my phone out, so I didn't want to get my phone knocked over as well as that. But definitely worth going to this show, driving out from Celebration all the way to St. Petersburg, Florida. Staying out a little late, it's gonna take me a while to get back, but definitely worthwhile to see a band that, honestly, not only seeing hot water music, and also hot water music played before a Veil. A Veil was the headliner, which I was kind of expecting hot water to be the headliner, but a Veil, they played last. Maybe they're switching off maybe through the tour. They were kind of alternating who would be the headliner. Nonetheless, a Veil closed it out, and I never thought I would see a Veil again. I never thought I'd see a Veil again, and I was able to. They got back together. Thankfully, they got back together to play a show after all these years. They did a reunion about a year ago in some other states that sold out immediately. They didn't do one in Florida. I wasn't able to go to the out-of-state ones, but I was able to go to this one, and I'm glad I did. I'll see you in the next video, the vlog. Can you tell my voice is a little bit strained? I was singing. The vlog is over.